So, my friends, what is shame? That is our topic for today. And what is shame and how can we heal from the shame that resides within us? I am Brigitte Dove from Discover Meditation Training, and I welcome you all here to this Facebook Live this Sunday afternoon so that we can discuss this topic. And please let me know when you're online, just say hello or send me some hearts. I love that. All right, so what is shame? Shame is a feeling we have that we've done something bad, we've done something wrong, and that we should be punished for it. And oftentimes the feeling of shame comes from childhood, from being abused in some way, from being molested maybe, from being mistreated, and we think it's our fault. Pretty much all children think that anything they do wrong, or anything that happens to them, I should say, it's their fault. So first of all, it's not your fault. If you were mistreated as a child in any way, it is not your fault. Children are innocent beings. And any situation that happened to them that was abusive in any way or traumatic, children are always the victims. So know that was not your fault. And shame is a very subtle kind of a feeling. It's very much in alignment with guilt. And guilt is where we judge ourselves for all kinds of perceived misdoings. Maybe we think we eat too much, or we eat too many sweets, or we drink too much, or we work too much, or we don't work enough, or we exercise too much, or we don't exercise enough. The list is kind of endless of the ways we can judge ourselves, or the ways that we can feel ashamed of ourselves. So let's look at what we can do to heal this in ourselves. And I'm going to tell you here a little bit about something that happened to me to help you understand it better maybe. But when I was a child, I was very smart. I was always a grade A student at school. I was very good at sports as well. Pretty much anything I did, I was good at it. Now you'd think that was a good thing. But in my family, it wasn't. It meant I was showing off and being too much, too much good at everything. And I had an elder sister and a mother who really hated me for it. That's the truth. And this is going to sound weird, but they really wanted me to be unsuccessful. They did not want me to be successful. I guess because it showed them up. I never really figured out why they didn't want that, but they didn't. My father was happy about it, but not my mother and sister. So I never got any praise. I never got any attention for my grade A's or being in the sports teams and winning things in sports. Hi, Karen, welcome. And so I reached a point where I just didn't mention it, and nobody in the house mentioned it. So I was just felt very put down. And what I learned to do was dumb myself down. So they were dumbing me down, so I dumbed myself down as well. And of course, I didn't consciously know I was doing that. It's just the way it was in my household when I was growing up. But actually what was happening in a very subtle way was I was learning to be ashamed of myself. I was learning to be ashamed of how smart I was and how good at sports I was and what a fun, great person I was. I was often described as sweet. I remember that I was a sweet child. And those things were not considered good. So I put myself down for them, and I did not want to be in the spotlight. I can remember not wanting to do really well at things because I wanted my mother and my sister to love me. I wanted them to like me. And that never happened. Of course, I didn't understand why. And I had been carrying that for many, many years. And it wasn't until fairly recently I had the insight that I was doing that, because remember, these patterns are unconscious. So I had been unconsciously carrying that pattern for many years, not really wanting to step out in the spotlight as I am now, not really wanting to be the center of attention, not really wanting to be seen to be really good at things, because I felt that people wouldn't like me. They wouldn't love me if I was really, really good at things. And I've had 2 books published, and I can still remember when my first book was published, my mother just couldn't say to me, congratulations. She just couldn't say it, you know? And so I carried this dumbing myself down, and it's very subtle, and it happened fairly recently that I became aware of it. And with the shining the light of awareness on it, the shame dissolved, and I felt like I stepped out from behind this shadow of shame and felt quite happy and excited and joyful to step into the spotlight and shine my light. And coincidentally, fairly soon after that, I was invited to be on a TV show. There's a lot of information on that on this Facebook page of mine. So there I was on TV in the spotlight. So I thought that was an interesting coincidence that that would happen fairly soon after I was able to walk out from behind that shadow of shame. So I have a 4-step exercise I want to share with you to help you to discover how you might be in shame. Because usually it's unconscious. These are unconscious habits we create as a child, and then we just continue to do them, and we don't know why we're doing that. So step number 1 is to sit with yourself and ask yourself, what am I ashamed of about myself? Now you have to be honest here. You have to really be with yourself with great compassion, because it's not about judging yourself. This is like a spirit of inquiry in a very positive way. What am I ashamed of about myself? Or you could ask the question, what do I feel guilty about? Maybe you lied. Maybe you feel you could have done things better than you did. Whatever it is. You can do this now if you want. Or you can do this later. Just close your eyes and ask yourself those questions. What am I ashamed of about myself? Or what am I judging myself for? And it might take a while for the answers to come. So it takes some patience as well. And for sure, a lot of honesty. Do it in a spirit of self-inquiry and compassion for yourself. Because obviously you don't want to judge yourself for judging yourself or judge yourself for being ashamed of something, right? And also often these feelings of shame or guilt that we carry in us, they're actually passed on to us from our parents or our grandparents in our lineage, our whole generation. Could be, you know, that there's a shame of family or shame of religion or shame of the country you come from. Could be anything. It doesn't have to be rational, because it could be shame that you've inherited. So sort of in a way, nothing to do with you, you just inherited it from your family of origin. So spend some time with that and see what you come up with. And then step number 2, where is this feeling of shame in your body? See if you can tune into your body and feel where the shame is in your body. Is it in your heart? Is it in your belly, your stomach? Is it in the area of your sexual organs? Take some time while you're doing this, do it as a meditation really, and see if you can feel in your body where it is. Where are you carrying this? Because we carry all these emotions in our subconscious. 95% of us is in the subconscious, and that includes the wisdom of the body. So your body is storing all of this shame and guilt somewhere in you. So take some time, see if you can notice where you are storing it. And then, step number 3, what habits have you developed to cover it up? Now, what I developed was not wanting to step out in the spotlight, hiding in the background, being quiet. I mean, I'm not naturally a very loud person anyway, but I think this shame I was carrying made me more quiet than I might have been, or than I am. So the way I covered it up was to keep quiet, to dumb myself down, not put myself out there. So how do you cover it up? Now, a very common way of covering up a shame, feeling of shame or guilt, is eating. As if somehow by eating more food, or maybe it's sweets, candies, then you don't have to feel the shame. Maybe it's drinking, maybe it's some kind of medication, and I don't mean medication that you need, I mean medication that is serving as a comforter, so you don't have to feel the pain or the embarrassment or the humiliation of this shame. Maybe it's drinking, maybe it's busyness, just keeping yourself insanely busy so you don't have to feel the embarrassment, the shame, the pain, the humiliation, those feelings that go with shame and feeling guilty about something. So again, great, tremendous compassion for yourself as you do this exercise. Because remember, you don't want to judge yourself for any of these things, because most of them come from childhood, and children are victims of their circumstances. So nothing that happened was your fault. I can't say that enough. It was not your fault. So bring that spirit of inquiry with great compassion to yourself as you go through these steps. And the last step is the compassion. Although I've been mentioning compassion all the way through because I think it's so important. The compassion for yourself and the understanding. Because I don't think there's anything to forgive here because you never did anything wrong. So it's more about understanding yourself. So when I had this realization, I didn't feel like I had to forgive myself for anything because I was a victim of my circumstances. I was a child. I mean, there's nothing I could do about my mother and elder sister having this attitude towards me. But what helped me was the understanding as to how come I had developed this habit of trying to not be in the spotlight, trying to hide and be in the background and keep quiet. Certainly not being on TV. That was something I would never have really wanted to do. So understanding yourself is incredibly valuable and enlightening. Because along with that, you really see that it wasn't your fault. Where all of this shame and guilt started. And as I've said, it is very, very subtle. And it's lurking around there in your subconscious and your unconscious. Mine was certainly very unconscious. I mean, I think on some level I was aware of it, but I didn't know what to do about it. I just thought it was the way things were, I guess, you know. So let's just go over those again. Step 1 is become aware of any shame or guilt that you feel about anything at all. And you might like to journal and write this down because all kinds of things might come up when you sit with yourself and ask yourself this question: what am I ashamed of about myself? Or what do I feel guilty about myself? This isn't about anybody else. This is about you and being with yourself. Yeah. So with great compassion, you ask yourself those questions. That's step 1. Then step 2, where do you feel it in the body? And see if you can tune in with that feeling of shame as to where it is in your body, because the body stores everything. 95% of us is in the subconscious, and the subconscious stores every single thing, every trauma, every hurt, every bad words we heard about ourselves, all the judgments and criticism we heard about ourselves. It stores everything. And that, in a way, is good news, because it means when we bring the light of awareness to it, we can heal it and it will dissolve. And this helps the body heal as well. And then step number 3, what habits did you develop to cover up this shame? There's all kinds of habits people create, like eating, overeating, or undereating, bulimia, anorexia, and so on. Drinking, being overly busy, hiding, which is what I did, like trying to hide and not be seen and not be heard and being very quiet, not really wanting to offer my opinion. Those were the habits I developed because when I was growing up, nobody was interested in my opinion about anything or how I felt about anything. So I just learned to shut it all down. So we really need to tune in with our feeling state. That's how all this made us feel. And what were these habits? This takes a lot of honest inquiry. But when you do it with great compassion for yourself, in the spirit of finding the truth, then you will come up with some answers. And as you shine the light of awareness on these things, the good news is they dissolve because they cannot be there in the light of love and compassion. And then step number 4, the compassion, so important for yourself, and the understanding. Understanding how come you develop these habits, understanding how come you have this shame or this guilt for these situations which were not your fault. So I hope this has been helpful for you because I've been through this journey myself, as I have described, and it's very freeing when you can step out from behind that shadow of shame and into your real, joyful, fun-loving, playful, authentic self, the real you, who is just waiting there, like behind the scenes in a play, you know, ready to step out onto the stage and be truly who you really are. It's a great joy. It's a great relief. It's a great freedom. Freedom from all those old traumas, freedom from all those old habits, and then freedom to create. Because what gets unleashed when you free yourself up from these old shames and habits is your creativity is released. That is a great, great joy. And then the ultimate freedom, the freedom to be yourself at any given moment, spontaneously being yourself with no baggage from the past, no stuff from anything that happened to you previously, just in the moment, natural, pure spontaneity of you. And this can happen for you because it's happened for me. I've climbed out of all of these shames and habits I had so that I can be my natural, true, spontaneous self. There's only one of me in the world. There's only one of you in the world. And the world wants you to come forward and be who you really, truly are. So let me know in the comments. You know, I would love to hear from you about this topic because it's not really spoken about all that much and it's very subtle. So it takes a bit of work to look at it, but it's very well worth it. So write in the comments, and if you're watching the replay, thank you all of you, those who are live. I love having you live. But if you are watching the replay, just put replay at the front of the comments so I know you saw it later, and let me know what's coming up for you. What is happening? All right, my sweet friends, I love you all, And I will talk to you next Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific on We'll See. Surprise. Good night, everybody.